There's a moment when your hands shake, your chest burns, and your mind screams, I can't take this anymore. You've been pushing for weeks, maybe months. No sleep, no progress, no one cheering. Just silence and pain. And then it happens. The thing you feared most. The rejection letter. The failure. The betrayal. You stare at the screen, your heart heavy. All that work, all that hope gone in a single word. Unfortunately. You sit there frozen, wondering if it's even worth continuing. But then, something deep inside whispers, don't stop here. That whisper is quiet, but it's the voice that changes everything. Because that's the exact point where most people quit. And the exact point where you can separate yourself from everyone else. But how do you stay focused when it hurts this much? Pain has a strange way of testing what you're made of. It doesn't just come to destroy you. It comes to reveal you. Every great person you admire, every name you whisper when you talk about success, has walked through that same storm. They didn't have it easier. They just refused to let pain make their decisions. There was a time when Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, not because he wasn't talented, but because someone didn't see his worth. He went home that day, locked himself in his room, and cried. But the next morning, he didn't quit. He practiced harder, longer, louder than the pain. Because sometimes pain doesn't mean stop. It means keep going until the pain turns into strength. And that's what most people miss. Pain tricks you. It tells you to rest when you need to rise. It whispers that you're not enough when you're so close to proving that you are. You see, when everything's falling apart, it's not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're in transition. A seed has to break before it grows. A diamond has to be cut before it shines. And your heart, it has to be tested before it can lead. But then comes the real test. What do you do when the pain doesn't go away? You wake up one day and realize this isn't a phase anymore. It's not just a bad week. It's your life right now. The dream feels distant. Your motivation is gone. And every step forward feels like dragging your feet through mud. You try to pray. You try to smile. You tell yourself, tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow looks just like today. That's when the mind starts to play tricks. It says, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should have taken that easier path. Maybe all this pain means it's time to quit. But what if pain is the price of becoming who you were meant to be? What if all the confusion, heartbreak, and exhaustion are not punishments, but preparation? Think about it. Every time you break a sweat, your body grows stronger. Every time you face rejection, your character deepens. Every time your heart breaks, your empathy expands. So maybe this pain you feel isn't the end. Maybe it's the beginning of the version of you that can't be broken. Because when it hurts, that's when focus matters the most. No one sees the real war you fight. They see your smile, your effort, your posts online. But they don't see the nights you stay awake, fighting doubt, fear, the urge to give up. It's a silent war, and it's one of the moments no one will ever celebrate. Like, when you keep working after you fail, when you show up when no one believes in you, when you stay consistent, even when the world calls you crazy. That's how greatness is born, not through comfort, not through applause, but through discipline and pain. You want to know who really wins in life? It's not the most talented, not the luckiest, not even the smartest. It's the one who stays focused when it hurts the most, because pain is temporary, but quitting is forever. But then something happens. You start to notice small changes. Your mind sharpens, your patience deepens, your fire grows steadier. You realize you're not breaking anymore. You're transforming. But that's when the world throws its final test. There's always one last storm before the sunrise. It's the moment that feels the worst, the darkest, the most hopeless. The rejection comes again. The people you trusted walk away. You fail in front of everyone. You think, this must be the end. But it's not. It's the threshold. The world always tests you before it rewards you. Ask anyone who's ever made it. They'll tell you their lowest point came right before their biggest breakthrough. When you're ready to quit, life whispers, one more step. And if you can take that one step, even when it hurts, even when no one's clapping, even when you don't see the outcome, you'll realize something powerful. You don't need the pain to disappear. You just need the courage to walk through it. Because once you do, the pain loses its power. You stop running from it. You start learning from it. You stop fearing it. You start using it. And suddenly, the very thing that was breaking you becomes a thing that builds you. Let's be honest. Pain doesn't get easier. You just get stronger. You build calluses on your soul. You learn to smile through the storm. You stop asking, why me? And start saying, try me. You realize that greatness isn't about comfort. It's about consistency. Anyone can work when it's easy. Anyone can dream when it's sunny. But few stay focused when it hurts. Few keep showing up when everything screams. Stop. Those few, they change the world because they discover the secret. The pain you feel today is shaping the strength you'll need tomorrow. So when it hurts, don't run. Don't hide. Don't quit. Stay focused. Because the moment you survive what once broke you, you'll never fear it again. And when that happens, you don't just win, you become unstoppable. But the question is, what happens when the pain doesn't come from failure, but from success itself? When the world finally starts noticing you, and suddenly you're the target? That's where it gets harder. You finally make it. The doors that once slammed shut now open. The people who once doubted you now whisper your name. You can finally breathe. But something feels different. Something feels off. You thought success would bring peace, but instead, it brings pressure. You thought reaching the top would make the noise stop. But now the noise is louder. Everyone's watching. Everyone's waiting. Everyone's expecting. And deep inside, you whisper to yourself, what if I can't keep this up? That's the part no one talks about. The pain that hides inside success. Because the higher you climb, the stronger the wind hits. And if you lose focus now, you fall harder than ever before. But what if pain doesn't end after success? What if success creates a new kind of pain? You see, everyone wants to win, until they realize what winning costs. When you were struggling, the pain came from trying. Now it comes from maintaining. Before, you fought to be noticed. Now, you fight not to be forgotten. You used to dream about being on top, but no one told you how heavy that crown feels. Because now, every move you make is judged. Every mistake is magnified. Every weakness is replayed for the world to see. And sometimes, you find yourself wishing you could go back to when no one expected anything from you. You miss the quiet grind, the freedom to fail in private, the joy of being hungry and invisible. But you can't go back, because the climb changed you. And the view, no matter how lonely, is where you belong. But still, you start to lose yourself. Not because you're failing, but because you're forgetting why you started. Success has a strange side effect. It isolates you. When you were at the bottom, you had a tribe. People cheered for you because they believed in your dream. Now that you've made it, they watch you with quiet envy. They smile, but their eyes are different. Some distance themselves. Some turn against you. Some pretend they never knew you. You begin to realize it's not the climb that's painful. It's losing people along the way. And then the thought hits you, maybe I'm not built for this. But that's the trap, because pain doesn't stop at the top. It just changes form. You have to learn how to stay focused even when success hurts. You have to learn how to stand tall when the pressure rises. How to silence the voices that say, you're done. You've peaked. You got lucky. No, this is where true focus begins. When you stop climbing for others and start climbing for purpose. At some point you realize success is no longer about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. You're no longer chasing applause. You're chasing alignment. And that's when the next storm hits, the internal one. You wake up one morning, look at your achievements, and feel nothing. The spark is gone. The fire that once burned bright now flickers. You start asking questions you never asked before. What's next? Why do I feel empty? Is this all there is? You scroll through social media, see others celebrating new wins, And that old feeling creeps back in, the fear of being left behind. But here's the truth. Success doesn't end your insecurities. It magnifies them, because now you have something to lose. Now, you're protecting what you built, and fear replaces hunger. But what if the way forward isn't about doing more, but remembering why you began? Close your eyes for a second. Remember the version of you who started this journey, the one who had nothing but a dream and determination, the one who didn't care about numbers, followers, or recognition. That person didn't wake up to impress the world. They woke up to change it. That's who you need to find again. Because focus isn't about perfection. It's about direction. It's not about staying busy. It's about staying true. You have to strip away the noise, the expectations, the pressure to perform, and ask yourself, why did I start this? Because the day you forget your why, you lose your way. When you remember it, the pain of success transforms back into fuel. You stop competing with others. You start competing with your potential. You stop chasing approval. You start chasing impact. And slowly, the weight starts to lift, not because life got easier, but because your heart got lighter. But then something unexpected happens. One night, after another exhausting day, you look in the mirror and realize something terrifying. You've become someone you don't recognize. You smile on the outside, but inside, you're tired, bitter, numb. Success has turned you into a machine, always performing, never resting. You tell yourself, I'm just working hard. But deep down, you're running from silence, because silence makes you face the truth. You build a life around pleasing everyone but yourself. That's when the fear shifts. You're no longer afraid of losing your success. You're afraid of losing yourself. And the only way back is to refocus not on what you're doing, but on who you're becoming. Because true success doesn't destroy your peace, it deepens it. And if success starts stealing your peace, it's time to refocus your purpose. But before you can do that, you have to face the most dangerous distraction of all. Doubt doesn't scream. It whispers. It sneaks in between your victories and your failures. It tells you, you're not as good as they think. You just got lucky. You don't deserve this. And every time you hear it, your focus blurs. But doubt isn't proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're growing. The stronger you become, the more resistance you feel. Because every level of success requires a deeper level of faith. The pain you feel now, it's not punishment. It's preparation. You're being sharpened, refined, strengthened, and one day soon, you'll realize that the hurt wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to build focus that never fades. You'll get to a point where you stop fighting the pain and start flowing with it. You'll learn that storms don't always mean chaos. Sometimes they mean cleansing. You'll find peace not because the world got easier, but because you stopped needing it to be. You'll stand on the same mountain that once terrified you and realize the view was never the reward. The climb was because pain gave you focus, failure gave you direction, and success gave you perspective. You'll stop asking, when will this get easier? And start saying, I'm getting stronger, because strength doesn't mean avoiding pain. It means walking through it, eyes open, heart steady. So when it hurts, stay focused. When it gets lonely, stay focused. When success starts to sting, stay focused. Because you've come too far to forget who you are. And just when you think you've mastered focus, life will throw one final curveball. The kind that doesn't just test your focus, but your faith. You've done everything right. You worked hard. You stayed focused. You stayed strong through the storms. But now nothing seems to move. You're stuck in a strange silence. Not of failure, but of waiting. You pray, you push, you plan, and yet nothing changes. It's not like before, when failure motivated you. Now it's confusion that drains you. You whisper to yourself, maybe I've done enough. But something inside says, not yet. This is the part no one prepares you for. The season where focus meets faith. Where discipline isn't enough. And you must believe even when you can't see. Because sometimes the real test isn't how hard you can work. It's how deeply you can trust. But how do you keep believing when it feels like life stopped listening? There's a war going on. Not around you, but inside you. One voice says, keep going. Another whispers, it's pointless. One says, you're almost there. The other laughs, you're fooling yourself. And every day, you wake up standing between them, wondering which one to believe. This is what faith feels like in real life. Not fireworks, not miracles, but quiet persistence in the dark. You keep walking, even when the road disappears. You keep believing, even when no sign appears. Because faith is focus without evidence. And that's where most people lose it. They think faith means confidence, but it really means commitment. Commitment to something you can't yet touch, but you know is real. And the moment you choose faith over fear, the battle starts to shift. But it doesn't get easier, it gets deeper. There comes a day when your logic fails you, when your plan crumbles, when your effort seems to fall flat, and you start asking questions that echo in the dark. Why me? Why now? What's the point? You look at others, people who seem to have it easier, and you wonder why your path feels like a maze. But that's when faith speaks, quietly. You're not behind. You're being built. Every delay has a reason. Every disappointment has direction. Every silence has a message. You just have to hold your focus long enough to hear it. Because sometimes God doesn't give answers. He gives endurance. Not everything meant to grow you will make sense. Not every pain will reveal its purpose right away. But one day, when you look back, you'll realize it was all connected. Every heartbreak, every delay, every not yet. The map was being drawn even when you couldn't see it. But the question is, can you still stay focused when the map goes blank? Faith has a waiting room. It's that space between what you prayed for and what you get. It's uncomfortable. It's uncertain. It's silent. You'll see others getting their breakthroughs. You'll clap for them, smiling outside, bleeding inside. You'll wonder if you're forgotten. But remember, faith isn't proven by what you receive. It's proven by how you wait. You don't grow faith by watching miracles happen. You grow it by staying focused when they don't. Because faith isn't about forcing results. It's about holding position when life doesn't make sense. And in that gap, something incredible happens. The world might not see it, but inside you, roots are growing. Strength is forming. Character is solidifying. What's happening in you is preparing what's coming to you. But then, something hits you that almost breaks it all. There's a silence that hurts more than pain itself. It's when you pray with all your heart, and heaven stays quiet. No signs, no answers, just silence. You start to wonder, did I do something wrong? Did I miss my moment? Am I even heard anymore? You cry, you plead, you break, and then, in the middle of your breakdown, you realize maybe God isn't absent. Maybe he's observing. Because when a teacher gives a test, they stay silent. The silence isn't punishment. It's proof of trust. He knows what he placed in you. Now he's watching you use it. Faith grows strongest when it's stretched the most. And sometimes God removes the noise so you can finally hear your own strength. Because he's not trying to comfort you. He's trying to complete you. So you keep walking. Not because it's easy, but because you've come too far to give up now. Every person who's ever reached greatness had that moment. The moment where quitting felt like peace. Where letting go felt like relief. Where stopping made more sense than standing. But they didn't. And that's what changed everything. Because focus isn't proven in excitement. It's proven in exhaustion. You're going to hit that wall too. That breaking point where faith feels foolish and hope feels heavy. And the world will whisper, just stop. You've done enough. But deep down, something inside you will still pulse. Something that refuses to die. That's not pride. That's purpose. Purpose doesn't fade when it hurts. It burns hotter. So when your body gives out, when your mind shuts down, and when your soul feels numb, that's when you look up and say, I'm still here. And that moment, that whisper of defiance in the middle of despair, that's the sound of faith winning. One morning, it changes. Not because the pain disappears, but because you stop fighting it. You start walking lighter, even though the road is the same. You start smiling quietly, even when nothing improved. Something inside you clicks. You realize the goal was never to control the storm. It was to find peace inside it. You stop asking, when will this end? And start saying, even if it doesn't, I'll still stand. That's faith. That's focus. That's freedom. And slowly, everything that once broke you becomes everything that built you. You understand why it had to hurt, because pain revealed the part of you that believes anyway. And once you learn that nothing, absolutely nothing, can shake you again, now, when people look at you, they see calm. They see strength. They see someone who doesn't flinch when life gets hard. They don't know what it cost you to be this way. They don't know the nights you cried, the faith you fought for. They just see the results, not the rebuilding. But that's okay, because this strength isn't for show. It's for survival. You've learned that focus isn't about ignoring pain. It's about walking through it with purpose. You've learned that faith isn't about feeling fearless. It's about standing anyway. And you've learned that sometimes God doesn't move the mountain. He builds a climber strong enough to conquer it. So when it hurts, when you're lost, tired, and tested, remember this. You're not failing. You're forging. You're becoming something unshakable, something unbreakable, because you stayed when others ran. You believed when others doubted. You focused when it hurt. And that's how warriors are made. But this battle isn't over yet, because now you must face something even harder than pain or faith. The fear of losing everything you built. That's where the final part begins. There comes a time when you're no longer fighting to reach something. You're fighting not to lose it. You've built it. You've earned it. You become the person you once dreamed of being. But now, every success feels fragile. Every victory feels temporary. You're not scared of failing anymore. You're scared of falling back. You look around and realize you've got more to lose now. More eyes on you. More pressure. More responsibility. And with every step forward, a small voice whispers, what if it all disappears? That's the final test. Not how you act when you have nothing, but how you stand when you have everything to lose. You used to dream of this life. Now, you're protecting it like it's glass. Every decision feels heavier. Every mistake feels fatal. The freedom you once had to try, to fail, to learn, now feels replaced by anxiety. You tell yourself, I can't mess this up. But that fear slowly turns into a cage. You start hesitating. You start overthinking. You start playing it safe. But here's the truth no one tells you. Playing it safe is the most dangerous thing you can do, because the same fear that protects your success can also poison it. The moment you stop taking risks, you stop growing. The moment you stop growing, you start fading. You didn't climb all this way to survive. You climbed to live. And living requires courage. The same courage that got you here. So don't let fear of loss make you forget the faith that made you rise. There's a scene that plays out in silence. You're sitting in your room at midnight. No noise, no audience, just you and the weight of everything you've built. You remember the nights you cried, the sacrifices, the rejections, the pain. You realize that the mountain you once dreamed of climbing, you're now standing on top of it. But instead of feeling free, you feel tired, because no one told you that success has its own loneliness. The higher you go, the fewer people you can talk to, the fewer who understand the pressure, the fewer who see your humanity beneath the image. And that's when it hits you. You didn't climb to prove anything. You climbed because something inside refused to stop. That spark, the one that burned when you had nothing, that's what kept you alive. And the moment you forget that, you start losing the fire that built your focus. You start noticing it. You're not waking up with that same energy. You're doing everything right, but it feels mechanical. You've mastered the grind, but lost the glow. You're so busy maintaining success that you forgot what made you passionate. You become efficient, but not alive. That's when the thought creeps in. Maybe I'm done. Maybe my best days are behind me. But deep down, a tiny spark still flickers. That same fire that burned when you were hungry. It's weak, but it's there. You realize you haven't lost the fire. You just buried it under fear, comfort, and control. And now, it's time to dig it out again. You stand up one morning, look in the mirror, and finally tell yourself the truth. I'm not afraid of losing everything. I'm afraid of losing myself. And that truth wakes something inside you. You remember why you started, not for money, not for fame, but for meaning. The struggle, the grind, the pain, they made you feel alive because they had purpose. So you decide, no more fear, no more pressure to be perfect, no more chasing what you already have. Instead, you chase progress. You get back to the basics. You learn again. You fail again. You grow again. And this time, you don't do it to prove anything. You do it because you love who you're becoming. That's when something beautiful happens. The fear of losing everything disappears. Because now you realize you can rebuild it all again if you must. You've done it once. You can do it again. You're no longer scared of falling because you've learned how to rise. One day, the inevitable happens. You fail. Something breaks. Something you built starts to crumble. But this time, you don't panic. You don't spiral. You take a deep breath and say, I've been here before. Because now you understand, loss isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every fall refines you. Every setback reawakens you. Every ending redirects you. You've learned to stop fearing the fall and start trusting the flight. Because falling doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're still moving. You were never built to stay comfortable. You were built to grow, and growth hurts. But it's the kind of hurt that heals you. Now, you walk through life lighter. The fear that once chained you, gone. The pressure that once crushed you, faded. You've learned that true focus isn't holding on tight. It's letting go of control, letting go of comparison, letting go of fear. You realize that what's meant for you can't be taken from you, and what leaves you was never meant to stay. You stop chasing outcomes and start embracing alignment. And in that peace, you discover something more powerful than success. Contentment, not comfort. Contentment, the quiet confidence that says, no matter what happens, I'm enough. Because now you know, you're not defined by what you achieve, but by what you overcome. When you look back, you'll see it clearly. Every pain, every fall, every sleepless night, it all led here, to this moment, to this strength, to this version of you. The one who didn't quit when it hurt. The one who didn't stop when it got heavy. The one who didn't let fear silence their faith. You stayed focused, not because it was easy, but because you chose to. And that choice changed everything. You learned that pain doesn't mean punishment. It means preparation. That loss doesn't mean the end. It means evolution. That faith doesn't mean certainty. It means courage and uncertainty. Now, when the storms come, you no longer ask, why me? You whisper, watch me, because you've walked through the fire, and you didn't just survive, you transformed. You're not the same person who started this journey. You're stronger, wiser, freer. You've learned that true focus isn't about ignoring pain. It's about turning it into power. So when it hurts, stay focused. When it breaks, stay focused. When it feels like the end, stay focused. Because the pain that once tried to stop you became the force that made you unstoppable. You didn't just make it through the storm. You became the storm. And that is where your story truly begins.